Hello, everybody. Although I don't know how many everybody's there are right now because the YouTube widget is not functioning properly. So I don't know. There could be 100 of you. I doubt it. There could be 5 of you. Probably likely at this point in time. I can't tell right now because the YouTube analytics is not functioning properly. So hopefully it's not affecting the stream. I don't think it is because it does seem to be actually doing stuff in my other screen. um, so, hey everybody, Blake. Yeah, 7 winners. Cross your fingers. Hopefully, Church Boy, Jim, Anthony, Jay. Maybe you could trade Blake. You and Jay could switch places. I think Jay's won like 2 or 3 times. All right, let's see here. We'll take things a little bit easy as or give it a little bit of time before I get like right in. I'm not gonna get right into stuff today, kind of like always. Today's Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th if you're superstitious. Hopefully it is a good Friday the 13th as opposed to a scary or terrifying or terrible Friday the 13th. I have an apropos monster and robot t-shirt on today for Friday the 13th. So there's that. And tomorrow is National Bourbon Day, and with that in mind, I'm going to pour myself a little bit of bourbon. We'll go with the classic today. A little Weller Special Reserve. Hi, Nick. All right. While we wait, only 1 this year. Yeah, wasn't there like 2 last year, I think? 2 Friday the 13th last year? I think there was 2. 3 next year. That's crazy. That's a lot of Friday the 13th. If you're somebody who digs into that whole thing, you're going to be bringing out the goth war paint or something for those Friday the 13th next year. I haven't been to a big one in quite some time, and actually the last one that I was at that was big in terms of the amount of bottles. There's a fly in here. Sorry, guys. It had a ton of bottles, but there was only 4 of us there that were drinking it. So that's some guy's house, but sounds like fun if you were at a big bourbon tasting. Pikesville Rye's still solid. And it's Friday, so it's Rye Day. So normally I do rye on Friday, but well, normally I do rye right now anyway. So 9-year single barrel, good stuff. 3 is the max you can have in a year. That's interesting. I did not know that. Makes sense though, in terms of like how the calendar days and everything fall. We have a lot of folks. 2,200. Wow, that's like not a bourbon tasting. That's like a whole like event. That's like a festival. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into stuff. I don't know how long a lot of this is going to take to kind of talk about. Kind of, especially since I tend to go off on tangents and then you guys will ask questions and I'll go off on more tangents. But I kind of want to show off Karis Penco stuff, do the whole update, talk about a couple other things. And then give enough time for everybody to kind of go talk through or ask as many questions as they have potentially. So I just lost track of what I was gonna. Couple things like admin type stuff. I would imagine almost all of you. Hey Jeremy, I would imagine almost all of you subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't, please subscribe to our newsletter. We're really trying to move it in a direction of not just being advertising, but we're kind of like changing the way that we're doing it. So there's a lot of information in our newsletters, especially on the Sunday newsletter, which I'm trying to pull all of the sales out of that unless there's a huge sale going on, and then we'll leave like one thing in there if it's like a coupon code. But the majority of the stuff that I tend to put into the Sunday newsletter is all informational, whether it's like an informational segment in the newsletter itself that kind of talks about a specific topic, and then a blog post and a link to the blog post that has like another topic that we're going over or that people have asked about. I'm trying to gear that far more towards a lot of questions that are asked or topics that we get we get requested to cover, or just things that are in general. Like we'll be doing as things come up. We'll if it's a cultural thing where like every once in a while there'll be a huge like Forbes article that'll talk about pens or whatever, or somebody will publish some nonsense that'll talk about how handwriting is dead because of the ballpoint pen or some BS. So, and then we'll end up, writing some type of, or I'll end up writing some type of thing and putting it on either the newsletter or a lot of times for stuff like that on the blog. So please sign up for that. If you don't follow us on social media, please follow us on social media. Everyday Karis has its own social media now. We have both Facebook and Instagram, if you use those two social media platforms. I know a lot of people don't use social media for a variety of reasons. And there are multiple different social media platforms that we could use that we don't use. We don't use X or Twitter, or we don't use Blue Sky or any of the other text-based, largely more text-focused social media platforms. We did a long time ago, when X was Twitter and Twitter was still very, very user-friendly for a business. It is not. It's more just informational nowadays. It's not as I don't want to say it just doesn't function for a company attempting to use it for some type of advertising or fan base. The same goes for Instagram, really. Like we use it a lot now, but it's shifted the way that its algorithm works. So if you do use any of the social media platforms that we are on, please follow us. Same here on YouTube. If you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. It just helps us. It helps me get more hard data on the amount of people that are engaging with our posts and products, the amount of people that our reach. And it's not really sales data. It's more just like, are we doing the right things on these different platforms? Okay, that's kind of my pitch. I don't usually do that kind of stuff on here because it's a little bit. I feel like it's a little bit unnecessary for the live stream because probably the majority of you already are doing all that stuff. But having said that, there are quite a few people that come back and watch this after it airs live, and many of them aren't necessarily signed up for those different places. So, all right, let's get into the new Cerakote stuff. Well, first I'll talk about. I'll start with the Jawbreaker stuff. So if you are familiar with our Jawbreaker Cerakote pins, I'm going to go ahead and switch here. So the Jawbreaker was a pen. It was a Cerakote design that our old Cerakote applicator, not the one we currently have. It's the same business, but it has been sold. So the old guy that ran our current Cerakote company, we were doing solid colors, and he just had a couple random pens left over. And he did them white and then splattered on some red, some green, and some blue, kind of like the big Jawbreaker, everlasting gobstopper type of pen, candies that you see, those like baseball sized ones that have become infamous all over the internet. And we were like, yeah, we want some of those pins. Sent pins for him to do. This was years and years ago, like pre-pandemic. And so we got several different batches of them. He really did not like to do them because they're time consuming. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of effort. White is particularly hard to lay down correctly. But we did several different releases. Initially, we had, I'm trying to think what we did, bolts, and we did we did decographs and inks, and I think we did a few EDKs and a few retracts. It was kind of all the pens that we had at the time, really. I think we might have done a very small number of render key or fountain keys. And then we sent more out for him to do, and I think he ended up painting about half of those, and then finally was just like, I don't want to do these anymore. So he stopped doing them. But it's one of the colorways that we get questions about the most, especially with Cerakote. So our new Cerakote applicator, who bought the business, I showed him some of like one of the old ones that we had, and he's like, oh, I can try it. And so he did a very small run of these dragon skin bolts, and they turned out great. They didn't give him a hard time at all. He was like, oh no, they're not that difficult. He has a much more he's much more savvy when it comes to actually doing the Cerakote. So I think he has a better grasp of how to do it in terms of using his equipment and maximizing the different techniques and doing it in a way that kind of makes it easier for him to manage. So we are going to have more of this available. We're sold out of this particular one. But I do have several other pens that we're gonna send to him to get done in the with the Jawbreaker style on it. So we're gonna have, probably some modals, some more EDKs, just kind of like, so we're slowly gonna go through. He can do about 15 to 20 of each design. We try to send him 15 to 20 of each design per release, per batch, because we can get about 120 pens, 130 pens into one size of white paint that he uses. So we'll try to do somewhere in the realm of like 5 or 6 styles and fit them all in there. So all right, so that kind of covers that. If you've been looking for those pens and other styles besides the Dragon Skin Bolt, just know we are going to be releasing more of those. He's on board with doing more of them. He says they're not difficult. So we'll have some of them throughout the summer up on the site. I'm not sure how quickly he will have the next batch back to us. He doesn't even have the pens yet. So, but moving right along, these are some new colors that we're testing. So the red is, I think it's called Crimson, and it's really difficult for me to show off. It's kind of like almost like a brick red color. So we tested this. It's a very like, I'm trying to think what it's similar to. In terms of like the feeling, it has a very tactile feel to the actual like surface of that red Cerakote. I would say it's similar to if you have used any of our single color pens that have a similar color, have a similar sheen to it. It's kind of like the eggshell, the robin's egg blue, or especially like the Aztec teal, the turquoise color that we get. So it almost is like a tackiness. It's not sticky, but it definitely has a surface texture to it that's really nice. The color is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't show up very well. I tried to turn the light directly on it, and it totally changes the color. But I would say it's very much like a brick red, or kind of that like Golden Gate Bridge, reddish, orangish hue. It's a little bit on the dark side of that orange Golden Gate Bridge color. So we're going to be messing around with some of those. Likely those are going to show up at pen shows for this color. On fountain pens mainly. We'll test it out. We'll do different colorway combinations with like, I just threw this one together. This was a test he did because I didn't know what color it was. So he did a couple of these and sent them back to me. Moving right along, this is called Liberty Blue. So this is an FX series. It's like a super metallic. So it's basically a base coat of black and then over the top a clear coat with like a ton of blue and silver metal flake as suspended in it. Super cool color, crazy. If you follow us on Facebook, Tommy posted, or Instagram, Tommy posted some photos of those earlier today. Super, super crazy the way that it shows up. It's like if I'm looking at it like on the screen, the way that I see it on here is it very blue color, like blue, very shiny blue. From my desk, if I actually look at the pins from this direction, it's almost like a blue purple, like a dark blue that kind of moves into purple territory. Again, really, really cool color. Color shifts in, it doesn't really color shift, but super sparkly in natural light. The bottom one, that one is Mardi Gras, FX Mardi Gras, which is the same color. So that's over black. That's the exact same color over black that we did for the mother of pearl pins. So on white, that shows up like mother of pearl. On black, it shows up like this, which is a purple with gold metal flake, but also color shifts on to green. So like from my perspective, if I look over at the pin sitting here, that pin looks green with a pinkish purple sheen to it. It's a really, really cool color. We're gonna be experimenting with these colors, and there's quite a few other FX series colors. There's Blaze, which is a red with a ton of sparkle. There's multiple other colors that we're going to be experimenting with on the FX series over time. So we'll do a few here and there, and we'll probably end up doing most of these on our more popular pens, because it's easy for me to use for him to do samples on, easiest for him to test out samples on the Render Ks. I usually have him do a color test on a Render K first before we expand and add pens to those, because if it turns out kind of gross looking, I don't want to put it on a modal and then not be able to sell the modal, or an ink or something big that where it potentially costs more for him to apply it because it's a bigger pen. And the modals are a little bit more complex for him because he has to really get in, not super get into that area where we put the clip. So there's a lot that goes into those two pens. So we test out the colors on the Render Ks before we move forward with them. But we will probably do these. I would say modals and inks will be the two that we focus on for the FX series, predominantly. Maybe some vertexes for fountain pens on the colors that are like really, really cool looking, like the Mardi Gras one. The Mardi Gras is cool. I'm curious to see it on other colors. I'm curious to see it on like more of a bright color to see what it does. Not like a white, but like on something else that like a brighter green or something, to see what other colors kind of pull out of it, because it's so kind of crazy looking. So be prepared. You're going to be seeing more styles like that in the future. I would imagine sometime in July, realistically, based off of our schedule and his schedule combined. He does have pens right now. Some of them are for are the other colors in the color spectrum or in the FX series like that. I think there's a yellow, and I think there's a bunch of them, but he's going to test out some other pens in the other FX colors so we can see those and get a better picture of which ones we want to add. So that's what he has right now, and we've kind of like, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I have, not a whole bunch. I have a decent amount of Cerakote product that I haven't released yet. We're waiting on photos, or we wanted to get through some of the other stuff before we put those up, kind of put them on pause because we're really focusing on getting the next basic stuff done with Everyday Keras. So there's so many moving parts of in terms of like figuring out when to release what products and what to send out to Anodize, what to send out to Cerakote. I've got a whole bunch of stuff for Anodize that's coming back from Anodize right now, so I'm focused on that. So that's kind of one big thing is like I want to bring some Anodized product in with some colors that we haven't necessarily we haven't had in a while. Do some expansion of the Anodized product. So we have like a whole section of, I've got a whole big like plan with bolts and Vertex pens that we're going to do like a kind of a special release program, if you will, for some anodized pens as opposed to Cerakote designs. I know everybody like, it's kind of torn between like, oh, I like the style of the Cerakote, but they're significantly more expensive. And then some people really like specific colorways that we do with the anodized. So I'm kind of like figuring out how to spread out the different releases of all of them is a little bit difficult. So that's kind of where we're going in terms of just testing out new colors. I would imagine we'll test out new Cerakote colors, probably 4 new colors every other month, where we'll like get new colors done or new colorways. We're going to test out some more splatter pens in different colors in the next couple months as well, just to see how that continues to go. And then we'll slowly sprinkle in stuff like these FX series because they're relatively new. They've had them in the past, but they didn't really advertise them very much. Cerakote didn't. And so, and then he's doing custom colors as well, where he custom mixes 2 colors together to get something. So potentially see some of that stuff if we have specific colors that we want in terms of the Cerakote stuff. So that's kind of where we're at with that. If you have specific colorways that you would like to see, like some of our really popular ones, like Prospector or Thunderhead or the Superstition, which we haven't done in a long time, just let us know. It's one of those things where it's like we try to do a couple different of our classic colorways that we have named throughout the year, but we never know which ones are going to really sell. The Prospector one's always been really popular, but we've done a lot of it on certain pens, and then some pens we haven't done very much of it on. So it's kind of difficult for me to like plan everything out right now because there's, like I said, there's so many moving parts and trying to like figure out like, okay, what do I want to do this week versus next week? And, you know, and sometimes we'll get stuff back that I won't be able to release right away because it'll need to be redone. So, there's kind of the update on the Cerakote product. That's what we have coming in the future. We're still going to do some more Yellow Jacket splatter, and we're still going to do some more of the Mother of Pearl. And then we're going to slowly implement these colors as time goes on. Along with probably some more of the orange, the burnt orange color that we had. We only did a real small release of that, so we might see that come back over the next few months. All right, so that's kind of the update with the Keras Penco side of things. Now let's go ahead and talk about this out of the way. Sorry about that. Now we'll go ahead and talk about everyday Kara side of things. So, yeah, Bob, we'll probably do some more Hunter Orange closer to the fall. We almost always end up having really good luck with that particular color during the Halloween season. It's very Halloweenish, fall color. So I would imagine we would do that towards the end of summer, the beginning of fall. I have to look at what pens we've done in that in the past to kind of see where we need to circle back on. But yeah, we'll probably do more Hunter Orange. That color is, I don't think that color will ever go away completely. It's one of the most popular Cerakote colors. So we'll continue to have that available at least once or twice a year. It just kind of depends on what pens we want to show off with it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears into the everyday Kara side of things. If you follow, excuse me, if you are subscribed to our newsletter, we have sent out some updates. A lot of them are specific to people that have purchased the Everyday Karas pens already, specifically the subscription. If you didn't buy any of these, this was the first subscription. So this is the basic 001, 002, 003, and then the basic exclusive, which was a 002 in dark blue anodized. It was then heavy tumbled into the battle worn to give it the battle worn look. The reason that I have some of these other items on here is these are potential items that will be added to Everyday Karas as kind of like EDC type tools. So the tie bar, which was originally called the TKO pry bar, and we're just going to rename it just the tie bar, the Everyday Karas tie bar. Probably going to go through a slight modification upon re-release, and then our super old titanium keychain that clips onto your belt loop is also on there. So these are kind of like ideas that we are going to potentially add to Everyday Karas down the road. Some of these products, the keychain specifically has to have outside process done to it. Even the original ones we didn't do we did the finish machining on them. They were initially water jet, and then we would on a big sheet, and then we would finish machine each piece off, like a little cut and then a smoothing pass. So this is kind of the updated version of that. It's about twice as thick in terms of the overall thickness of this part. I think we made a version of that, a very small number of those out of brass or copper. But in terms of the basic and the subscription service, the first subscription that is shown off here was available to Pen Club members, the Karas Pen Club members, when we were trying to get Everyday Karas kind of up off the ground. So with that being said, we got a decent amount of feedback. I sent out a feedback form and asked people, hey, what are your opinions on the subscription? And so basically everybody was like, yes, this is a great opportunity. So we're going to go ahead and do a second subscription. The basic subscription will be available starting next week. I would imagine it's going to launch on Monday or Tuesday, but it's not going to be available just to Pen Club members or just to current subscription members. We're going to basically put it on the site, and and it's going to be kind of like a pre-order. By that I mean we're currently working on the basic 004, and so The subscription will contain the 004. I'm going to switch back to my face. The subscription is going to have the subscription number 2, the one that's upcoming, is going to have it's going to basically be similar to this one, except it's going to be the 004, 005, 006, and then it's going to have a custom anodized version of one of any of the first 6 pins. So it could be a 001, it could be a 002, it could be a 003. We're going to kind of decide which one we want to feature and what color of anodize we want to do on it. It's not going to, I will tell you this, it's not going to be black. There is a potential for us to add black as a color to specific releases down the road. So towards the end of the year, we're working with getting bulk anodized in matte black as cheap as possible, to basically get it so cheap that it would not change the cost of the pin. So a black anodized one would cost $29 or $30, as close to $29 as possible. The problem is we have to get it done in bulk. It has to be a bunch of them, and we're kind of, I don't want to say we're negotiating, we're just looking at a lot more anodizers that we don't normally use, because a lot of anodizers can do black, as long as it's matte black and it's not like it's not cosmetic, and there might be a few little, like it might not be exactly perfect, but black usually comes out fine anyway. There's no color variation or bleeding usually. So we're hopeful that we can get black in the future at a much reduced cost, down to where we can release some black basic pins towards the end of the year that'll be priced really, really close to the price of the tumbled version. In the meantime, the standard releases that we're going to do for the 004, the 005, the 006, and then kind of moving forward, if and when we add more at that entry-level price point, those are all going to continue to be tumbled. So we're working on the 004s right now. They're like halfway machined, and then they've got to be finished tumbled, and then they've got to be inspected and assembled. And so they'll be ready to ship so they'll be ready to go on the website live sometime in early July, after we come back from our break. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to launch the second subscription. We're going to launch it next week. We're going to run it for 5 or 6 days. It's going to be capped, so we're going to let a certain number of people buy into it, and if we hit the cap before 5 or 6 days is over, then we hit it. We're not going to expand it. We don't want to get over our skis with this one, but we want to expand it and offer it to more people. So it's basically, there'll be a number that we're going to cap it at. I have to get with Bill still on what he thinks that could be, based off of how many they're making on the machine, this current production run. So if it's half of the production run, then we'll allow half of the production run to be used for the subscription. So we'll run it basically all next week. We'll run, or until we sell out. So we'll run the subscription window all next week or until we sell out, and then we'll shut it down, or we'll shut it down because we sell as many as we're gonna do. It's gonna be more than the first version. The first version we capped at 100 people, and we ended up having a couple people that were like, "Hey, I had it in my cart, I wasn't able to." So we ended up having I think we ended up with like 108 people on the first one, because there was a few people that we could see they had a failed transaction and then it went out of stock. So we're going to do significantly more than 100. It's going to be priced the same way. So it's going to be 4 pins, the 3 standard pins, and then an exclusive that's only going to be available for the subscription members. It's not going to be a battle-worn version this time. It'll be an anodized version that will be anodized. It'll be most likely it will be a matte anodized finish in another color, and it'll be on whichever pin we decide to feature. It could be any of the 1 through 6. It could be any of those pins. And we're going to sell it for $100. So you'll get 4 pins for $100. And so if those pins were just $29, you're saving $16 for $100. realistically, you're saving more, because if we were to sell the anodized version for what we need to have even close to the margin as we would have on the humbled aluminum versions, it would probably be around $35 for the anodized version of a pen, like an anodized version that is a cosmetic anodized. So it's a little bit more than $16. It's like $25 in savings, somewhere around $20, $25, somewhere around there, depending on what color we get and whether or not we can source it locally or whether we have to send it to like Utah or Oregon or one of the other anodizers that we use. But we're going to keep the subscription cost on that first one to $20. It's going to be fulfilled the same way that we fulfilled the first one. So basically, you'll pay the $100 up front. When it launches, I'll have photos. Actually, in a minute, we'll show the number 4. I'll go ahead and show off the number 4 because I have one here with me. I'll switch over to that. Just move these all around here. And then we can switch to that in a minute. So you'll see the number 4 here, and then we'll have it available next week on Monday or Tuesday. It'll be on the site. That photo of the 4 will be there, along with I have some ideas on what we're going to do for 5 and 6, and so we'll have some specced out they're going to be blurred out, kind of like we did, just to keep the mystique alive on the 5 and the 6. So, and then they'll ship kind of the same way. So shipping for the 4 will take place at the end of this month, before we go on our mid-year 4th of July holiday, which is like the last week of the month. So sometime the week of like the 23rd, the first one, the 004, because they'll be done by then and assembled, those will ship to the subscription members, and then they'll go live on like July 7th on the site by themselves. So individual purchases of the 004 will be available on the 7th of July. But anybody that buys the subscription, they'll get their 004 sometime after the 24th, because the earliest ones will ship the 23rd, 24th, 25th. So they'll get them after that. You guys will get them after that if you purchase the second subscription. And then after that, the plan is like the first subscription, every 28 to 35 days, we'll have the next one ready to go. And the subscribers will get theirs about 5 days before they go live on the website. They'll ship before they go live, 5 to 7 days before they go live on the website. So if the next one goes live on like the 4th of, August, you guys will get them. If you purchase into it, the subscribers will get that. We'll get them shipped the last week of July, because our production schedule is around that. Like, these are easy enough for us to crank them out in that short period of time, where we should have the whole thing with the subscription is that first, however many we need. If it's 250 for the subscription, we take that first 250 off the pen, off the machines immediately. They go into the tumbler. They get tumbled for as long as they need. They come out. They get any kind of, they get all the inspection and then assembled, and then they're ready to go, so we can ship them on the date when we basically have said, hey, this is the last day we want to ship these is here. We're going to ship them out. So that's kind of how we're running the subscription service. So, all right, so I'm going to pause. I know there's a couple questions. I'm going to answer a couple questions, then we can kind of come back to it. Pry bar and keychain. Brian Marsh. The pry bar and keychain will still be in titanium aluminum. Yeah, so those two things, to the pry bar specifically, will never be made out of anything other than titanium, potentially stainless steel. It's pointless to make a pry bar out of aluminum, unless you just want one for looks. It's kind of like the brass pry bars that we made were just made for looks, that they're not really suitable for prying anything. So yeah, the pry bar is really going to be only made in titanium. We're not going to really do them in aluminum. Like if you did an aluminum one, you'd have to like have something like a thread-in piece of titanium on the end to actually do any kind of prying that you would want to do. Aluminum's just going to end up chipping or scraping or scratching the surface of whatever you're trying to pry on. So I don't know. Like that's probably not. Now the keychain, that keychain specifically, maybe we do that out of aluminum. But it probably doesn't make any sense for us to do that one out of aluminum, just because the cost that would go into having aluminum water jet for that part, we'd probably have to sell that aluminum version for close to what the titanium version would sell for, especially if we anodize the aluminum version. So for now, likely those are not going to be made out of aluminum, just be made out of titanium. Adam, I know the price will be much higher, but any chance you made the copper basic? So we don't have any plans to do the copper, to do the basic in copper. We are testing some. We're looking at potentially getting a small amount of brass to try a brass basic. So if you're a current subscriber of the, if you bought the first subscription, you know that you had access to a small amount. We have a small amount of pens that were anodized in. We sourced a specific color of olive drab anodized, did a special treatment on these pens, and then they're available to the current basic subscription members. Those have brass knobs on them, brass like buttons. But we are going to be looking at potentially down the road testing out some brass on this pen. I don't know about any copper. The concern about copper is copper significantly raises the price, but it's also really prone to it's soft and it gets damaged easy. And the idea behind this is not just that this pen is inexpensive, but it's also durable. A lot of the damage that a brass pen can take, that same damage with a copper pen is going to make it inoperable. So we don't know if we're going to do copper anytime soon. Maybe not. I don't know for sure. We haven't decided specifically because it might be counterintuitive for this type of heavy duty style pen to be made out of copper. It just might not work the way that we want it to. Okay, let's see. We have not considered moving the clip to the other side, but we may consider that because we are going to move the clip up all the way to the top. We're going to flatten that top area instead of making it like sloped. We're going to flatten it and put the clip all the way at the top. So we might, I mean, if it makes sense, we'll put it on the opposite side. My only concern would be like standard use of it. It would be pressing down into like instead of pressing into like this area, the clip pushing into this area of your hand, it's going to be pushing onto this part of your fingers. So that might be, I don't know, we'll see. We'll test it out and see. A lefty modal? Probably not. So Christina said, lefty here. I know we're a small percentage of pen users and your customers, but any plans to do a lefty modal? Probably not. We are considering doing a left-handed version of the basic. And I think depending on how many of those we sell, we could see potentially adding left-handed modals as well. But we just have to see the actual sales. Like left-handed people are only slightly less representative among the population in general, I think. What is it like? Let's find out. I mean, you probably know. No, I guess it is. It's 10% of the population, but that's a significant percentage of the population. Like 10% is, like, it's not 1%. I would say that like we made a mechanical pencil, and mechanical pencil users, machined mechanical pencil users are definitely less. There are fewer of those than 10% of the people that use writing instruments, as opposed to 10% of the population are left-handed. So we could see that potentially happening. I don't. We've talked about adapting it specifically to the basic because it would be easiest for us to do that, just to test it out and see how many we sell. Let's see. The parts, Jim, the parts kits are available on Everyday Keras by themselves, and we had some issues with them being purchased, but they're available now. Sorry, Michael. We'll have more blood orange stuff too. So, we'll probably reel you back in if you've been looking for something else in blood orange. All right, let me switch the screen again. I'm going to show off the 004 because I know people are going to we're going to ask for it, and I have it available here to show off. So this is the 004. We'll show it next to some of the. Here, we'll do it like this. This way. And I'll just take this one out. All right, so here's kind of the whole, this will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not sure, might have to zoom in on it. I'm not sure how well you can kind of see the design. So we got a lot of people that asked us to do something that's a little less aggressive than the 2, but kind of smooth. And we've tested the smooth version, just the plain basic, which would just be like the blank slate basic. And it just doesn't feel good. It's too smooth. It's too slippery. We know we're going to get a lot of feedback of people being like, oh, it slips out of my hand, because we get that with the Bolt all the time. So we wanted to do something that's kind of smooth, but not totally smooth. And so this very fine, it looks much more dramatic than it is, because when you tumble, when you do these kind of machined rings all the way up the top, all the way from the tip to the top, the raw version of this pen, it's not very noticeable. You can feel it because you can feel that it adds a little bit of grip to it, but you can't see it. But when you tumble it, because it tumbles the higher spots in between all the machined rings, that machining, that bright silver of the machined aluminum on the cuts is much more visible. So it makes it look far more dramatic than it is. So this is relatively smooth in terms of like when you hold it. I was really skeptical of this design when it first came out. I'll be super honest with you. I did not think I was going to like this pen. This version of the basic 004. I like it a lot. It's probably my second favorite version, just over the 003. The 003 is the pen that I use the most now. It's the most comfortable for me to use. It's just, it writes, like it feels right in my hand. Like it, just the way that it grips is really, really nice. So, but this one, the 004 that we're coming out with, is definitely, man, this fly is killing me. It's definitely the one that's right behind it. Like if I lost my 003, I would replace it with the 004 and probably carry that one around. And then for anybody that kind of likes a more standard pen, like I had a couple of friends of mine that were messing around with the 001 and the 003. And they're like, oh, it's just kind of a little bit too like tactical looking, whatever. I showed them the 004 and they're like, oh yeah, this is way kind of more my style. I like a little understated. It just needs to look like a regular pen more. So you got a sneak peek of the 004. So that's kind of where we're at with the subscription service. So that one, and then we have 2 more on deck. The designs for the 005 and the 006 are done. And we're kind of leaning in towards like, trying to think what the description. Josh basically adapted some designs of pocket flashlights, like their machining designs for the external design on the 005. So if you're a pocket flashlight person, when you look at a bunch of different pocket flashlights, you can be like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't want to give too much away because we haven't finalized that one yet. We know for the overall look that we're going for, and then I don't even know what the 006 is going to look like. It could be anything, like realistically. Bill just kind of gives Josh free reign to do whatever he wants on the external look of those pens, and as long as the prototypes that he gets off the machine, when he finally gets them, we're like, no, we don't like this one. Yes, we like this one, type of thing goes through it. So we have tested out like 5 or 6 other versions that we've been like, nope, we're not doing this version. It's way too aggressive, or it looks too much like the first one that we did, or whatever. So knurling, God, I don't think that is going to be, if we ever do knurling on the basic, way down the road, like next year time down the road probably, and would for sure increase the price on the pen. Knurling adds a significant amount of, to get knurling right. I'll put it to you like that, because we can get knurling wrong real quick, real fast, and in a hurry. To get knurling done right on a product like this, where it lines up and it looks good, and it's not muddy, it takes time and effort. You really got to put time and effort into it. So. Kevin, yes. So Kevin asked, does the subscription start with whatever the current pen is in the series plus 3 more? So the subscription moving forward is going to function like the last one. It's going to be the most recent. It's going to be the next release. So whatever the next release in the number is going to be. So it'll be, for now anyway, it's going to be the next release, which is going to be the 4, and then so it will include that, the 4, the 5, and the 6, and then an anodized version of any of the first 6 pins. So the next subscription we do after this should be 7, is it right? Yeah, 7, 8, 9, and then an anodized version of one of any of the first 9 pins that we do. Because we're going to do for the anodized version that we're going to do going forward, we're basically going to pick whichever one we want to do, and we're just going to machine as many of them as we have subscribers. So if we do, so just for instance, if the subscription 2, this one that we're going to release next week, we get 250 people sign up for it, Josh will go back and we'll be like, okay, which one do we want to do? We'll decide how much version we want to do. Josh will make 250 of those pens that will just be done solely to be anodized, separate, and we'll send those out. They'll get anodized, we'll get them back. We'll probably send a few more extra just in case they get damaged. But yes, it will be the current release, the current pen, plus the next 2 releases, and then an exclusive color and number. So it'll be an exclusive version with a color that will only be available for the subscribers. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, but it's very difficult to communicate. Yes, it's the 4, the 5, the 6, and then an exclusive version of that we decide on internally, and an exclusive color, basically. So, all right. We're going to go ahead and officially move into the Q&A portion. We're almost at an hour. I have failed to bring this up. If you have not yet, please complete the giveaway link. We're doing a giveaway. The link is pinned in the comment section all the way at the top. It should show up as a pinned comment. Click that. It's a Google form. Fill out the Google form, please, so that we can do the giveaway. We're doing 7 winners this time. That way everybody's in there before we shut things down. And then while we wait for the rest of you to go ahead and do that, let's go ahead and do an official question and answer. So if you have questions, if whatever question you have hasn't been asked and hasn't been answered during the live stream, go ahead and throw them in the comments right now, and I will answer them if I have the answer. I know the answer. If not, I'll just wait for for a couple minutes before we do the giveaway. My wife likes my shirt. Thanks. Is the Darth Modalist coming back? Yes, we'll do some more of those. I just have to I need to make, we ran out of the clips. We ran out of clips and buttons for those. So I need to send more of the clips and buttons out for anodize. I have more of the pins. So yeah, we'll do some more of those. Yes, Brian, there is an olive and brass basic. It's only available to the current basic subscribers. So it is out there. If you know a basic subscriber, twist their arm into, at this rate, there's going to be some available. There's going to be some of those available for the next. So people that purchase into the next subscriber will also have access to there will probably be some of the olive and brass basics available for anybody who signs up for the next subscription for the one that starts next week. Because I'm basically that pen is only going to be available to people that signed up for the first or the second subscription service. But we only have 100 of them. Any copper in the near future? Copper for the basic? No. Will you do more with the divot grip? That's an interesting question. We haven't done divots in a while. We'll probably do more bolts and modals with the divot. Yeah, probably. Brian, it was emailed out. So I'll have to double check your email. It was sent only to the subscribers last week at some point. I can't remember what day it was. Let me look at my calendar. Should have been last Wednesday. We sent an email just to the subscribers on Wednesday, the 11th. So maybe it went to your spam. That's one of the rare ones, James. I think we only did like 100 or maybe 200 of those over the 2-year period. Yeah, we'll do more of the Darth Modalist. We're gonna have more of those available. Like I said, I just have to send out clips to get anodized. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the giveaway. So I hope you guys have completed. Hope you guys have completed the giveaway portion. If not, you got a few minutes, like 1 minute to fill out the giveaway form before I start doing the process. Church Boy, that is a no. That's a no because we don't have any more ringed retracts. The sunflower ringed retracts were the last. Those were the last. I think I had 16 pins total, of those available. And currently, we don't have retracts on the schedule to make them until sometime next year. We don't even have them on the schedule at all. So they will be, when they are on the schedule, they will not be until next year. So no, to answer that question, if we do, here's the thing. When we do the mother of pearl again, which is going to come back, if it's on a retract, it's just going to be the standard one because that's all that I have. I don't have any other alternate grips. I don't have any fluted retracts. I don't have any frag retracts, so it's just going to be the standard retracts for the foreseeable future. Unless I can, twist Bill's arm to get me a small amount of some of them available, or if there's some in the shop somewhere that I don't know about, which does happen sometimes where they get set aside somewhere. But I know for a fact that we have not machined ringed grips in like quite some time. Those were like the leftover ones that we had. So sorry. The form is at the top of the chat, Kevin. It should be pinned in the top of the chat. There should be a like at the top of your chat that you're responding, and there should be something that says Karas Pen Company. Should be highlighted. You click that. More music recommendations. I'll see what I can do. I try to do one music post a week on different days, and then a movie or a TV post, and then some type of food related post every week, and then if I'm reading something, a reading type of post. So I try to mix it up. So next week, what's I'm trying to look at the schedule here. Next week, the Wednesday, well, I don't think we're going to be doing Wednesday next week. Probably, I don't know what next week is, but there'll be at least one music related post next week for those of you that enjoy reading about my random music adventures or what have you. Oh, there we go. All right, 1 second. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do the giveaway. Randomize it 5 times, and then we're gonna choose the top 7. Let me get a drink of water here. All right. Winners are Michael Kwan, Blake Waller, Kevin Howard. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. A. Bertie. James Chesser. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And Maria Prater. That's the 7 winners that I have. So Michael Kwan, Blake Waller, Just Nick, Kevin Howard, A. Bertie, James Cheshire, and Maria Prater. If you would email your shipping information to paul@karascustoms.com, I will get yours shipped out next week at some point based off of my availability in terms of shipping stuff. Oopsie daisy. Did not mean to close that window. Congratulations to everybody that won. cannot find this. Man. All right. Are you going to make grips for the Ultim Modal? New grips for the Ultim Modal. I don't think we're going to be making any new grips for the Ultim Modal anytime soon. We're probably not going to have, we don't have any Ultim in stock currently to make any pins out of. So it's just going to be the stuff that we have in stock now, which is pretty much nothing. We're almost sold out, if not all the way sold out. There might be some random 1s and 2s banging around in a drawer somewhere. And I would imagine we're not going to do another modal run until sometime late fall. Just because we have a lot of the aluminum, brass, and copper modals. So having them on the schedule, especially since we're really attempting to prototype stuff right now. We're trying to do basics a whole bunch, and then one machine we're running Vertex is on, and we want to basically do prototyping on 1 or 2 of the other machines to get kind of a couple new pens in the works in quicker rather than later. So I don't know that we'll have modals in Ultim anytime soon. So fluted bolts, fluted EDKs, and fluted modals are probably going to be the only fluted stuff you'll see right now, because that's what we have, and they're not on the schedule. And then if Josh decides to add flutes to the basic, maybe a fluted basic at some point. I don't know, but he's in charge of all of that stuff. So that's where we're at with the fluted stuff. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and sign off and call it a day. It's been over an hour. No questions? Boy, the delay here today is terrible. Sometimes the delay is only 15 to 20 seconds, and today the delay is like 45 seconds. So I apologize for that. Yeah, it was a bit of a pain to do the waterfall stuff. I don't know that we'll do that on anything else. Although, again, realistically, with Josh being in charge of stuff like that, like if he just feels like doing that, Bill just tell him to figure it out. Just figure it out and do it if you want to do that. So we could see the waterfall showing up again on other pins besides the EDK, specifically the bolt or the modal, I would imagine. Or maybe even the basic. I think it requires us to get some different tooling, but you know. All right, no more questions. We're going to shut it down. I appreciate everything, guys. Once again, thank you so much for being here, spending some time talking through all this stuff. I have no idea what next month is going to be like, honestly. I would imagine with... One thing I didn't talk about is we are going to be doing our big 4th of July sale. We're still trying to gear up for that. So there will be a 4th of July sale this year. I don't know the specifics of it yet. I'm trying to work through the basic subscription thing, and then the week after that, the week before 4th of July, basically, I'm going to be nailing down all the specifics on the 4th of July sale. So we will be in DC this year. DC is the next show we are attending. So yeah, expect to see a couple people in DC. I think it's going to be G and Tommy this year. All right, everybody, have a good evening. Be safe. Have a good weekend. We'll see you guys next time. If you have any questions afterwards, you can always email me as always. I really appreciate being here and spending some time and engaging and everything and asking questions and whatnot. And so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for spending some time on Friday with me. I'll talk to you later.